This is what I'm training you to be like. The 4 horsemen of the motherfucking apocalypse. Fucking warriors, not whiners, not warriors. Do you think Donald Trump's a whiner? Do you think he worries and gives a fuck what you think of him? Do you think Elon Musk gives a fuck what you think of him? Do you think the late Steve Jobs gave a fuck what you thought of him? Do you think Bill Gates gives a fuck? And I can go on and on and on. The only one that gives a fuck what is you. And you. And you and the fucking morons on YouTube. This is a different world you're in. It's like those science fiction things. When they go into the time warp and they jump in and they go to a... That's what this is. We're going to give you the tools. Whether you use them or not is something else. When you've lived a life outside the auspices or the scope of QLA, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is, this, even though intellectually you could take a test and pass it, true and false, blah, blah, you might even be able to pass some essay questions. But when you have to enact it, when you have to suck up your pantyhose and grab yourself by your privates and do shit, like these 2 guys that are going to explain to us on these Skype calls in a few days, they're going to tell you it's a motherfucker. But they're going to also tell you we did it. And when you look at the little shits, some of you guys that fancy yourself maybe macho, tough, you're going to look at these 2 little cunts and say, well, if these little cunts can do it, fuck, anybody can do it. And that's the point. That is a motherfucking point. If these 2 little cunts, and I hope you're watching me, you 2, and they know, if they can fucking do it, anybody on the planet can do it. I used to teach catechism when I was a kid. I wanted to be a priest. And maybe all young Catholic boys want to be a priest, but I mean the nuns used to, but I mean, to this day. And my wife and I, we support 5 or 6 orphanages, most of which are Catholic. And I met the big senior nun from one of the orders in Asia a few years ago, and I told her about that. And the younger nun said, "Oh, that's this rumor, myth, that none of that happened." So I look at the old nun, who's about 10 years older than I am. I said, Mother Superior, with the greatest respect, would you tell everybody how it used to be? We made mistakes, but that's why the Catholicism in the last 2,000 years, we've been able to overcome. I said, okay, fine, that's enough. But I mean, because they used to give you a beating. Success requires no explanation. Failure must be doctored with alibis. I hear a lot of alibis in this room. When I have private time, the Romanians are best for alibis. Alibi must have started as a Romanian word. Okay? You know, I don't have to make excuses. My track record's on my website. I've done about 35 billion euros in deals, which is about 34 billion more than you've done. I'm being kind. Okay. Okay. I used to say my wife has lost more net worth in fur coats at airports than you've made. Now I can say jewelry and fur coats. And it's all about expectations. But when you start with these alibis, I'm not interested. Because the real truth is nobody else is interested. But political correctness is you listen. Oh, really? Gee, that's it. I'm not interested. Next. Because when you listen to bullshit, listen to this one hard, Father. When you listen to bullshit and you say nothing, you're giving tacit approval that it's all fucking okay. When it's not okay. So when you listen to bullshit, whether it's a government minister and you don't say, fuck you, minister, you're giving tacit approval. And you want to know why your kids are fucked up? Because a whole 2 generations have been raised, you just listen, you don't correct them, da 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 da. And now look at what we got left. I don't, whether it's in an email, a Skype, or whatever, I never just sit by and listen. I tell you when I say you're full of shit. I tell you nobody's going to believe that. I tell you straight up. And that's when your little feelings, because your little egos and little self-image and little self-esteem is non-fucking-existent. I have more self-esteem in this fucking toe that I broke a few weeks ago than this whole room has. in my toe. Well, because you don't have any. Most of your self-images are shit. And you wonder why you can't convince somebody of something. Or you wonder why you put up with bullshit. But we're going to show you how to fix all that. We're going to fix it. Mr. Think Tank made the comment that one of the reasons I'm so rough on YouTube is because I don't want you to come to the fucking seminar. Which is true, I don't. I only want you to come to the seminar if you're willing to put up with the pain. Because then I know at least I got a 50-50 chance of making you successful. Otherwise, you're fucked. You're wasting your money. You might as well burn it in your fucking fireplace. Or better yet, give it to me and I'll give it to some of the charities that I'm dealing with. You know, Prevention of the Cruelty of Animals, Mother Teresa's orphanages I support, and a bunch of the nuns. Okay. Because I realize there's a high failure rate unless you're absolutely focused. And most people aren't focused, and that's why you buy the stuff from the guys that tell you it's easy. But the best advice, one of the best bits of advice he ever gave me, he says, excuse me. And we were looking in the commode, and there's a stall like this. A commode is the thing you sit on to take a crap. And he said, what do you see there, Mr. Pena? And I go, I'm trying to think, esoterically, outside the box. What the fuck's he talking about? I see porcelain, I see water, I see steel stall sides, etc. Okay, let's go back to water, Mr. Pena. Okay, you see water. What do you see in the water? And I said, well, right now I don't see anything, thank goodness. It's all clean. He says, yes, but what if you put your fist in the water? This is really important to you fucking melon heads that have the IQ of a fucking jellyfish. And so I'm trying to think esoterically again, outside the box. What's your man mean? And I said, okay, well, if you put your fist in the water, you displace water. And he says, correct, Mr. Pena. And what happens when you release your hand from the commode and you pull it out of the water? I'm trying to think again, esoterically, outside the box. Fuck, let me see, is this physics? I said, the water fills back in and it replaces where your hand was. That is life, Mr. Pena. That is life. You're no more than a fist in a fucking bowl of toilet water in life. And when you pull your hand out, the water goes back and flows over it. And I focused in on the castle because I charge a lot more money. And I found there was a direct correlation. If I charge a lot of money, you fucking morons listened. Because a cheap fuck like you will say, well, fuck, I paid him a lot of money. I better do what the fuck he says. Otherwise, I've wasted my money. And it's worked. When I say I don't like you to read books, I've read Shakespeare, Tolstoy, Nietzsche. I've done all that. That's not what I mean. I mean read a book about bullshit so you don't pull the trigger. That's the books that you don't have to read anymore. And you're wasting your fucking time. The scores are pretty good. Now, where's your score?
I think Candy's looking into it.
She's looking into it. Is that a Punjabi answer, or is that?
It's the only answer I have.
Huh? Okay.
She's going to liaise with someone. Thelma.
Lays.
With Thelma.
Oh, she's gonna liaise
with Thelma, based in the Philippines.
There's gonna be a collaboration.
Absolutely.
A collaboration.
To trace my score.
A Punjabi collaboration. And Thelma's not Punjabi.
It's international.
Yes. Bullshit is international. There's no question about bullshit. But you know, when bullshit comes out of a female, everybody laughs. You know, when a guy bullshits, it's not so funny. But when a woman bullshits, it's funny. It's humorous. Because I think it's more politically correct for a woman to bullshit. Because they don't call it bullshit. They call it, oh, I'm just being a woman. I'm just being feminine. I'm just being a mother. Kind of like the stuff that you've palmed off on us the last 2 days. Okay? I'd like to talk to your kids is who I'd like to talk to. Like, what's the real deal with your mom? Is she, is she all up there, or is she just out in the wind? But you all did pretty well. You all did pretty well, and so I'm happy about that. Because when I fucking tell you I'm going to do something, I fucking do it. I'm either in a coma or fucking dead. And high performance people are just like me. When they say they're going to fuck you for practice, that's exactly what they do. They fuck you for practice. And when they tell you, I'm gonna rip your fucking head up and shit down your neck, that's exactly what they do. And when I tell you I'm gonna be in Salzburg, unless I'm dead or in a coma, I'll be there. And when I tell you I'm gonna get something done, unless I'm dead or in a coma, not your mother's coma, not your mother's death, you're dead or in a coma, I get it fucking done. Yes, sir.
I asked you earlier on was talking earlier on with you about the fact that HR teaches you.
Oh, God, I forgot. Thank you for reminding me. I almost had a fucking stroke earlier on because, 999, get the fucking paramedics here. I couldn't believe what you just said. I'd heard that before. Like if you tell me when I call you, and I don't talk to too many people on the phone, is this a good time? Boom, I hang up. Because you got no self-esteem, no self-confidence, no anything. You ask me if this is a good time. And then he tells me that HR departments teach you, now say it again just so I don't misspeak.
It's a so-called self-respect to ask the person you're talking to if it's a good time to talk to them. You're not taking their time or whatever.
Yeah, well, if you don't have the chutzpah, if you don't have the grit, if you don't have the balls, whenever, I don't care what you call it, the self-confidence or the self-respect, I mean, and you got to say, is this a good time? And what are you supposed to do when the guy says no? Fuck. And that's why things, it takes so damn long because they're calling back, and and then if you don't want to talk to the guy, it's never a good time. And I don't know, I would suspect if you have to go through an assistant, some sort of gatekeeping, I don't want to talk to that guy no matter what. Bill Gates said, you can't control that you were born into poverty, but you sure as hell can control if you die in poverty, because then that's your fault. And yes.
Should you only focus on like the 10 or 20 biggest affirmations?
Well, I mean, I say this slightly tongue-in-cheek. If you're the first trillionaire on the planet, all the rest falls into place. I mean, believe me. Now, you guys, I told you $10 million cash in the bank after tax will change just about everybody's life in this room, except me. And you don't know what that's like. I do. And I can remember, I told some of you, I remember the first day I made $10,000. I remember the first day I made $30,000 in a day. I remember the first day I made $30,000. I remember the first day I made $1 million. And I remember the first day I made $100 million in one day. I mean, crystal clear, like I brushed my teeth this morning. And I can go back and I can drag those up to my memory muscle. My brain. I get chills talking about it because I remember I got chills when it happened. If you want to see a great picture outside my office, as you turn into my office, just in the wall, before you turn in, there's a picture of me wearing that hat, or a hat like it, holding a 10 million pound check. 10 million pounds, which is about 20 million bucks at the time. The first 10 million I ripped out of the belly of the financial district in London. And I got a smile that's this wide. I mean, it looked wider than my face, And I can remember that. I remember it like it was this morning. And that's what you go back, you fall back on. And that's when athletes that have won a Super Bowl or a World Cup, in the last 2 minutes, and they bring that memory back. But you got to get the first memory. That's the challenge, to get the first memory. It's like the first archery contest that you ever won, etc. I mean, you got to bring that memory back, but you got to get one first. And then once you get them, I mean, I'm not saying they're easy to replicate, because they're not. But I mean, it is easier because you did it once. There's no reason why you can't do it twice. I coach, mentor, because what you can be, and what you can be is to partially fulfill your ultimate potential. Because nobody fulfills their ultimate potential, myself included, and Bill Gates, nor anybody since the beginning of time. But if I just based it on who you are today, I sit in my office and play with my computer. I used to play computer chess. I stopped playing. I used to be a pretty good chess player. And about 25 years ago, the Karpov, or one of the Russian chess world champs, came out with a computer game. And I was staying at the guy that wrote James Bond, those movies. What is it? Ian Fleming's house in Jamaica. I'm staying at his house. We're renting it. And it had an infinity pool. I didn't know what an infinity pool was. Some of you probably still don't know what it is. You know, in the pool, I'm sitting there and I'm playing chess with myself in the computer. And when I beat it at level 17, which is Grandmaster, I took the machine. I still have the machine here. I took it. I put it in its case, still with the moves, and I never played chess again. Now, young chess champion kids have told me, but Dan, the art of the computer game, electronic games, has improved. So you may not be able to beat it at Grandmaster anymore. Yeah, but I did. That's it. I know when to walk. I know when to walk away. And so I never played again. Okay. About that same time frame, I played with my son Derek. And I mean, he was 6, 7 years old, and he was just learning how to play chess. And he played me to a stalemate. And then I beat the thing, and I've never played chess with my kid again. And the reason why, when you walk up in the snooker room, in the game room, we have chess tables and chess boards around, because I used to play a lot of chess. But those things have got dust. Well, hopefully they dust them, because I knew that's it. I know when to walk away. And but the great thing about the QLA model is you don't ever have to walk away. You know, you can be the driving force in the first 5 or 6 or 7 deals, and then you can become the chairman. So you've always got, you know, your toe in the water, so to speak, of the. Now, the rumor is that I'm following in the footsteps of 2 of my mentors. For those of you that aren't bright enough to know that that's Lenin and Stalin and me, there's some truth to that, because I believe in the old Russian way. I'm not interested in your fucking opinions. That's the last thing I need is your opinion. Because if your opinion was so fucking good, you wouldn't be here. And if you look on my whole wall of influencers, they're both on there amongst some other people like the devil and a few others, Hitler. When all the walls are caving in, there's a thing called emotional flooding. Emotional flooding is when their information is coming in so quickly, you can't process it. And it's not just information, you have to make decisions based on that information so quickly. You can't process it. And it's like a little kid trying to put his thumb and fingers in holes in a dam, you know, and then pretty soon, like in a cartoon, the dam starts to break and you don't have enough toes and fingers to plug up the holes. That's what you guys are going to be like. Or you've operated your whole lives this way, but now you're going to be able to read it in a weekly report and it'll make you ill. Because you just, you know, and there's not enough fingers and holes, and then, and since you're not going to be reaching out to each other, because if I find out that, you're out of the program. You're out of the program. I'm the only that I know of, and correct me if you know anybody else, that makes their seminar attendees and post the seminar for 1 year to be 100% accountable. 100%, not 98%, through their weekly reporting and their monthly Zoom calls. That it's very much like the military. And the only thing is I don't hit them anymore. In the 90s, I hit you. Now I don't. I still like to hit you, but now for obvious reasons, everybody's got an iPhone. Although we don't let you have your iPhones in the room. But anyway, be that as it may. Right now, there's a whole room full of them sitting over in the main castle, waiting to come and meet, giving them a beating or a beat down. And we've even got some Canadians. The Canadians love me. I don't know why they should. I normally don't have anything good to say about Canada, but other than I've made a lot of money there. But at the end of the day, they've got to take action. They can watch all the YouTube's podcasts from now until they bury them. And if they don't take action, it's all BS. The Dalai Lama had his 80th birthday last year. And at the end of his speech, he says, meditation is great. Prayer is great. Contemplation is great. But if you don't take action, 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 all the rest is wasted. And what the kids today have trouble with, they connote reading a book to taking action. And I'm not saying you shouldn't read, because I've read the classics, I've read Shakespeare and all that stuff. But it's not taking action. Taking action is pulling the trigger, going out and making something happen. And even if you fail. And the kids have problems with that. And they come to me and I show them the way through the maze, as it were, how to learn how to take action. Jim Ryan, arguably the best long distance runner who never won a gold medal at the Olympics. He fell down in the 1968 Olympics in the 1500 meter, told me many years ago, Dan, motivation gets you started, good habits keep you going. I have extraordinary habits, and I have had for decades. Most of you have habits that are all fucked. You got bad habits. You got a wife who's a cunt. You got kids that are no fucking good. You got parents that fucked you up. So, I mean, how can you possibly expect to be anything other than you are? But yet, as we talk through this seminar, in the third or fourth day, there's a chart that says, if you're 30 years old, you've been around 250,000 hours, more or less. And we can change those 250,000 hours of bad habits, lack of motivation, etc., etc. Why you don't have to be a sophisticated, smart, or even talented to obtain finance. This room is a living legend example of why you don't have to be sophisticated to get the fucking money. And the morons that are watching us on fucking YouTube, they're even more stupid than you because they're not even here. You don't have to be smart to do this. Usman is a classic example of this. And when I make him a sophisticated finance person, I'm going to say I can die and go to heaven or Valhalla now because I've done it all. And he's not the first one that I took over to the dark side. And because he's a t-shirt and jeans guy, beanbag and ping pong, okay, what I do probably is the dark side to him. I am the Darth Vader of fucking finance. Because I'm Dan, the fucking money man. I didn't know it was 5 Credo crap then because I hadn't developed QLA. But I've been talking the same stuff for over 40 years. I didn't know it was revolutionary 40 years ago. But the best training that I had, as I happened to be blessed, when I volunteered for the draft in the middle of the Vietnam War, I went through officers candidate school, infantry, went through ranger training and all that stuff. When it was brutal, not now when you can go home at night to see your fucking wife and kids. And that trained me. And that trained me and gave me discipline. Most people that come to this seminar think they have discipline. They have no fucking discipline. I will be just as fired up the last 5 minutes of this seminar a week from now. And you'll be tired. You'll be standing up against the walls trying to stay awake. Because you're cunts. And the real world, the guys that I compete with, eat people like you for lunch, breakfast, hors d'oeuvres, canapes. And you don't have to be an alpha male. I got another podcast. Do I have to be an alpha male to do this? 98% of all high performance people are on Henry Kissinger's end of the continuum. Everybody, no, maybe you're not old enough to know who Henry Kissinger is. Who's another soft-spoken? Who? Branson. Okay. Or some, at that end. Only 2% of us are Ayatollah Khomeini, me, Donald Trump, Genghis Khan, etc. Only 2% of high-performance leaders are at my end of the continuum. 98% of them are just like everybody else. Eagles fly alone. I have no friends. Friends are problems. Friends are challenges. If you aren't into yourself, and that means something else now than what I mean. If you're not into yourself enough that you can't spend the weekend by yourself, then something's fucking wrong with you. Vis-a-vis self-esteem, being a high-performance person, and accomplishing high-performance acts, something's wrong with you. I have learned, and that's why I'm considered very politically incorrect now, is that the easiest way to get to the truth is to ask the fucking truth and say the fucking truth, irrespective of if it hurts. It's not because you're trying to go out of your way to be an asshole, which some people say. Your QLA is just busting balls and being an asshole to make a lot of money. That's not true. It's not all about money. Self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life. Have you ever seen an unhappy 2 or 3 year old, unless they got to have their diapers changed? They're happy, and then they turn into you. What the fuck happens? You know what happens? Your parents happen. To quit, to give up, to surrender is to fail. Failure is not an option in this program. I have 100% success rate. 100. And no cocksucker in this room is going to change that. A QLA warrior does not blink till the war is done. And I keep talking about war. You're going to put together a war plan here. Not a fucking action plan like a cunt. And cunt's not bad enough. You don't get insulted, so now I call you vaginas. And what did you say, Jamie, last night the key was?
The key is lazy cunt. That's the...
Yeah, and you are all lazy cunts. I still work 60, 70 hours a week and I'm retired. Well, failure's not an option. And I do fail. But when I do fail, I am so fucking... I can't believe it. There must be an error. There must be a typo. Because I'm so used to winning. And I've had the pleasure, the good fortune to have been mentored by some real world-class guys. And the world-class guys like me. They often say, you have the energy I had 50, 60 years ago. This is when I was younger. And you know, I went where the action was. I went to New York. They said that Wall Street would eat me alive, barrio bad boy. And they were wrong. I run towards the gunfire and I kill everybody, metaphorically speaking. I look for problems. I look for because from chaos comes order. From chaos comes order. And I've done that successfully for 50 years. And I'll be 72 in a few weeks. I don't feel 72. I don't believe I look 72. And I've had, if you've noticed on my websites, I'm called a bionic man because I've got so many artificial parts in me. My knees, my hip, my shoulders, my collarbone, my right bicep. I mean, I'm running out of parts to replace. And that's because I do everything to the maximum, and I do a lot of physical stuff more in the past than now, where I got hurt a lot. I got busted up. But that, you know, I'm looking to be all I can be every single day. I mean, there's no question. And getting back to your original question, how do I change their mindset? Is because I require the kids to be all they can be every single day for 1 year. I have 100% track record for changing lives for the better. It's much less for billionaires. It's more for hundreds of millions, and more even that than tens of millions. And if I can't make you a millionaire, I ought to blow my fucking brains out. 90% of them only do 10 or 20%.
Right.
10% of them do 80%. 1% of them do 100%. I'm meeting with a guy tonight for dinner who is English, who did $1 billion deal about 7 weeks ago from scratch, okay? And Joel, if you're listening, a short little fat, he's built like a pear. He's got shoulders this big and he's got a this big. That's a slight exaggeration. And he's not white, okay? And which doesn't mean, I don't see color, but I mean, he's not white. And I talk about him, and I don't show his picture, don't say his last name, because I don't want people chasing after him. Because he says it's hard enough. He says, I have a lot more friends now, Dan. or wannabe. And but it took him. He listened, but you still have to have some talent. But you can't just be, an idiot and be successful. But I tell all the kids to follow their passion. Do what you really can love to do, because if you can't do what you're doing now for 12 or 15 hours and not consider it a passion, it'll get old. How do you keep energized when so many of them fail because they don't follow instructions? That's the real question. And that real question translates back to you. And one of the slides we had, I think it was Winston Churchill, is to keeping your enthusiasm from failure to failure on the way to success. Now, I thought about it only a few seconds because I just read that email, but I don't even think about it. I'm so programmed for success, I don't think about the failures. And as I said a couple days ago, I'm more concerned, and I said it again yesterday, I'm more concerned for your success than you are. I make more sacrifices for your success than you do. So there's a dichotomy there. Something's fucked up. Fucked up. And if I really thought about it, I wouldn't do it. If I really thought about it, I wouldn't give the goddamn seminars, because I certainly don't need the fucking money. And of course I told you I tried giving free seminars. And that worked even worse, because nobody was committed. So the last question in my mind is not consistent with all the other bullshit they said. So when it comes down to their own pocketbook, fuck everybody else, I'm on board, pull up the gangplank. But they got all this self-serving bullshit, saving the fucking world. But as far as the gap between the rich and the poor, forget about it, because I'm going to be one of the rich. All my stuff on my website is free. I give all the product away. I don't sell it. I was poking fun at the other guys in the business. This just had my 24th anniversary, and I'm not having a sale, kids, because I don't sell anything. I give every thing away free. And why do I give it away free? Because I want to take the last little excuse you weenies have for not doing it. So many years ago, I went from the highest priced product known to man, thousands and thousands for a disc that costs a nickel, to nothing for free, because I want you to succeed. 99.99% of all the people that have made the billions, I've never met. 0.1% I have met. And those kids have come to the Castle Seminar, which I give 4 or 5 times a year. And then what they're really coming for, instead of doing it all free online, is I mentor the kids for a year for free. But not dissimilar to your at the farm. Accountable. One weekly report, 52 weeks, where they make themselves accountable for every hour of the day. They have to list what they did in detail, okay? Once a month we have a Zoom call where your group is all on screen, where we talk about what you accomplished or didn't. And where I belittle you, make you cry online in front of your peers. We've had people in the seminar pass out. We've had people shit their pants. We've had people piss their pants. We've had people literally collapse in sobbing, because we have 2 bank accounts in life. We've got a financial bank account, we've got an emotional bank account. And it's the emotional bank account where they always run dry. It's the emotional bank account that they give up on the farm because you're beating them physically, okay? It's the emotional bank account why you can't do more, and you're more worried about what people are going to say. I've wasted all these 11 months or 11 years. Elon Musk had a very similar saying. I would rather seppuku, commit suicide, hara-kiri, than fail. I would rather commit suicide.
How do we teach that? How do we teach that?
Only by exam. You can read all the books you want. I've had kids come to me that have read 700 books. They can't pull the trigger. They connote reading books and jogging around the block with taking action. Jogging around the block doesn't mean a thing unless you test yourself and you go out and try to qualify for the Boston Marathon, do a 100-miler, some of the kind of events you have. Sure. But they don't do that because they think filling up their day is taking action. Filling up their day isn't taking action. It's just filling up. And who fucked up? Who were you around for 7 or 8 years? Your parents, right? You're nothing more than the average of the 5 people that you've been exposed to most in your life. Mom, dad, maybe a grandparent, maybe an older brother or sister. Those 5. Are those the people you want to pattern your fucking life after? No! Unless you're John Kennedy, unless you're Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, some high-performance dude, and Mussolini, Hitler, Stalin, they're all one of my influencers. Along with the Impaler, and the Attila the Hun and all. Because they were high-performance people. And what you guys don't understand is to be a high-performance person, you don't have to be a good guy. You can be an asshole. And that's what some people think I am. I don't give a shit, though. High-performance life is a lonely life. It's lonely at the top. Because nobody else is willing to make the sacrifices that those guys that I just mentioned.
Yeah, they don't put in the work, the 10,000 hours plus that kind of thing.
Oh no, 10,000 hours. I know that I don't believe in that. I believe that some people do it in 1,000 hours. Some people do it in 1,000,000 hours. It depends. Some guys tell me I've got 20 years doing such and such. What they really have is 1 year 20 times. Most of the people watching this podcast have 1 year 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 times.
You think it's an excuse?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard to be successful, but it's harder to stay successful. I haven't had to work in 35 years. And it just so happens I'm reading this email about 2012, this kid from New York City who was a fucking, I'm adding to the story, a crackhead, I don't know if he was or not, but it sounds better. He's a fucking crackhead. He's living in his mother's garage, and he doesn't take a bath. But in 3 years, the story, he's living homeless. But for right now, he's just a crackhead in his mother's garage, and he doesn't take a bath. Okay. Another Menchie sends me an email this morning about their 18-year-old, which I predicted all this, the 18-year-old, unfortunately, I predicted all this, 18-year-old Brit, fucked up, drunk, and the presumption was that this person was a goody two-shoes. Nobody's a goody two-shoes at 18. I don't give a fuck who you think, who raised them, whether they're altar boys. Do they have altar girls? I don't give a fuck who. And if you're stupid enough to think that, whether they're Muslim, burqas, it doesn't make a shit. They're not. In today's society, the kids are fucked up. And that's because of a lack of leadership of used. I'm in general, parents. And so she's all surprised that her daughter, the little cherub that she was. And I said, of course, I had no empathy or sympathy. This is what you're finding out. I had to go pick her up on the street throwing up. This is only because she couldn't get anybody else to pick her up. That's the only the only reason you got a goddamn phone call. Her mates, her friends, and when the guys pick her up, and if you think any different, you're fucking brain dead. Sally says, why do you get so upset about this, Dan? Because people are so fucking stupid! They're so naive. Because you want to think. Unless you got a chain on their fucking ankle. And you got them in a cage. Then they're good. At 6 months, I said last night, kids, unless they've got to change their nappies, their diapers, are happy. Okay. And then at 3 years, they're still happy. And at 7 years, they're still happy. Remember, self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years. And then something happens. Something's still happening. And what's happening is because back here, just about there, your parents have taken a hold of your persona. Why isn't everybody happy, slappy later on? Or wrong way. Because your parents in life, contrary to what you think. There's some people in this room that they've devoted their life to being good parents. Praise Allah. But as I told the Oxford kids, and the Oxford kids just shit themselves. Love don't get the fucking job done. If love got the job done, then more of you would be motherfucking successful. And you wouldn't be here paying me an arm and a leg, you think. If love got the job done. Love doesn't get the motherfucking done. And as I told the Oxford kids, to two mums, which I call Blondie both, which is not politically correct, I said, no matter what you're going to do, sweetheart, and that's not politically correct either, when they're 15, 20, they're going to tell you to go fuck yourself. And kids actually tell, now if I wouldn't have dreamt of telling my dad to go fuck himself when I was a kid. And you'll understand later why. But kids actually tell parents to fuck off. It's beyond my comprehension. I can't even begin to think or dream or fantasize of telling my dad to go fuck off. Some of you as kids, according to your papers you filled out, have told your parents to fuck off. Some of you in this room had crack heads for parents, or at least one parent. Half of them, either a guy or a gal. Almost all your parents didn't have any self-esteem by your own admission. And if you think they didn't have fucking self-esteem, and it was that obvious, then they really didn't have self-esteem. Ciao. But don't be trying so goddamn hard. And some of you people said I was rude to you on the YouTube. Well, you have no idea how rude I can get. We're only putting the clean parts on this fucking YouTube. We'll give you the Institute of Finance from Salzburg's number, and you can call him, or tweet fuck him, or face fuck him, and you can find out just how insulting I know how to be. Or the gypsy midget fucking Roma here. They'll tell you. We'll give them both your. I'm going to post it on my website. If you want to know how rude Dan can get, call these two fuck faces. People only make the change for one or two reasons, inspiration or desperation. And to come to me, because I'm really hard, to come to me, you have to have tried everybody and their dog. I've had kids come here that have read 700 books. And in 700 books, they couldn't figure out what the fuck to do. So they come to me. And the most important aspect of my coaching, teaching, mentoring is the 1-year free mentor program. And I give it free because I want to be able to throw you out if you don't measure up. And I take exception to people that say it's a boot camp. Most of these kids have never been to a fucking boot camp. They would know a boot camp if it bit them in the butt. But I mean, we're hard here. Like the kids can't go to the gymnasium until they earn it. I have 2 gymnasiums here at the castle. It's like, it's hard. But I find life hard, and if you look back upon the Elon Musks, etc., of this world, the current day, they're tough guys. They're not, wusses. They're not snowflakes, I think is the word. I had to look that up. I wasn't sure what that meant, but they're not snowflakes. And most people come here, or I'm told, because I'm the alpha male dad model that they never had. I'm not asking for any kids. I got 3 lovely children. I don't need any. But one of the reasons that I have admiration for President Trump, look at his kids. They should be spoiled brats. Now, I'm not saying they're not spoiled in a certain way, but they're got their heads on their shoulders. They got their own business. My kids should be spoiled brats, but they're not. They're successful on their own. I didn't get any of my children jobs. I didn't make one phone call. And they went to good schools. You don't have to go to school. We have kids that come here that didn't get out of high school. The point is that I make you accountable. Bill Gates wanted to meet, just before he met Warren Buffett, he wanted Warren Buffett as a mentor. And so he was trying to figure out a way, Warren answers his own phone. But anyway, so his mother, Mrs. Gates, said she's going to have a dinner party. Didn't tell Bill Jr. or Bill Sr. He's got a successful lawyer as a father. And so Bill comes home from a business trip, and the people sitting in the living room, a couple luminaries, I think Ellison was there and a couple other guys, and Warren Buffett. And so Bill Gates asked his mother, wow, just like a good mom, you wanted to meet him, so I just invited him over for dinner. Anyway, so they're sitting around the dinner table, and there was a lull in the conversation, as there often is. except for when you drink a lot, then there's not too many lulls, but apparently they weren't drinking too much. And Mrs. Gates decided that she should ask a question to the table, not to any one specific person. And she said, what would you attribute your success to? Warren and Bill Gates Jr. with one word fired back, focus! And that's the answer to your question.
Do you think that the journey was important, though? If you hadn't come from that, you wouldn't...
No, I would rather have a process. I don't think life's a journey. And I argue with Brian Rose about this. Life's not a fucking journey. A journey is you make all the mistakes in the world. Okay. You know, once I understood what being a high-performance person was, going through officer training school and doing the Ranger and all the stuff, other stuff that we did, I mean, it's, to me, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, not a motherfucking meandering journey. And that's the excuse all the kids use. I'm on a journey. Fuck your journey. You're going to be on a journey when you're 55 years old, belching and farting in the fucking pub with your mates. Elon Musk doesn't have any mates. Steve Jobs didn't have any mates. Bill Gates doesn't have any mates. Zuckerberg doesn't have any mates. And I can go down the list. They don't go to the fucking football matches. They don't go to the World Cup. They don't go to any of that shite. Because I will do whatever it takes. And for those of you that know me a long time, I don't really give a shit if you like me. It doesn't make a fuck to me. Because I'm probably the only person that you've ever met that really, when he says, I don't give a fuck if anybody likes me, I'm telling the truth. Because I don't. Because like and friends are problems. They're like fucking albatrosses on your neck. And we have a couple people here that want to be liked, not even liked, they want to be fucking loved. I've never given up on a mentee since 1993. I've had plenty give up. But I've never given up on one of you. Or as they say here in Scotland, one of yous. And there'll be times where your metal's tested. How can I do this? How can I go forward? How can I accomplish this? And then when you set your objectives and your goals and we go through your QLA war plan, it's not an action plan, it's a fucking war plan because we're at war. And most of you in your lifetimes today, if you were at war, you'd all be fucking dead. Because in war you can't afford mistakes. And you make them every day. I talk, I act, and I perform as if it were the last 12 minutes of my last Super Bowl. And that's what you have to do to be successful. And I will drive you like fucking rented mules to get those results out of you. Because I know what you're capable of. More so than you. It's all about setting expectations, kids. You set high expectations. In the old days, when an American basketball team went to the Olympics, there was no question in anybody's fucking mind they were going to win gold. And then, what happened? The new generation came around and decided, well, going to the Olympics is enough. It's an experience. Medaling is enough, and sure as shit, we got our ass kicked. Your expectations will be different now, leaving here in a few days. Because you know what's possible. You know even dirtbags like you. Those people up there were once dirtbags. That didn't know any better. Then they achieved super success. Now, in this room, funny enough, the 2 or 3 people that have a few shekels have no education. Now, this is an exaggeration. This is Trump. They can barely write their fucking name. They can barely write their fucking name, as opposed to the people that have multi-degrees, don't have a fucking pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Now, there's a message there as well. Now, this is too heavy for the YouTubers. It's too much for them. I'll get all kind of shit back, you know. Why? You know what they'll shit focus on? Why did you take that mic away from that old lady? And God, I would have cried when I said, But you're no different. You focus on all the fucking moronic shit that doesn't mean a goddamn thing. But I guarantee, even though I've mentioned it, I will get fucking on YouTube. Why did you take the mic? I really slapped the old lady, knocked her fucking false teeth out, and kicked her in the fucking head. So we'll make it worse. So why do you focus on that shit? Why do people ask me if I'm fucking Iron Man? Like I told if you don't like my fucking politics, don't look at my free shit on my website. There's no politics on my website. Why? Because you're pretending to be interested in certain things because it's either vogue or you know you're not where you want to be in life and you feel either your wife told you or somebody told you, God, I got to do something. Now, for those that are listening on YouTube, my demographics have gone, it used to be 35 to 55. My demographics are now 15 to 30. 35-year-old here now, and then there's a few stumble in at 50, stagger in, you know, with their canes and in their wheelchairs. But for the most part, and that says two things about what's happening, even though I think the world's going to fucking hell in a handbasket, the kids are waking up because of social media, because they have so much information now available to them. They're smartening up quicker. And what's easy about the program now, easier, is because you can do all the homework that used to take shoe leather. Shoe leather meaning you had to go see people on the internet. Now that's the good news and the bad news. The good news is you can get it done a lot quicker. The bad news is you can get it done a lot quicker. So then that means you think you have more time and you take a fucking 3 or 4 of you have asked me about tips. That's hilarious to me. Do you have any tips? I mean, are you retarded? And the people that have asked me know who you are. Where does that word come from? Tips. What does tip mean? What does it mean?
Easy way out.
Yes, thank you. A shortcut. There are no motherfucking shortcut, you tough retards. You take the hill by charging it up and taking casualties, collateral damage. In your particular case, it's all emotional. It's very seldom physical. Tips. Fuck. That's hilarious to me. It's like asking a Navy SEAL, oh, you got any tips how we're going to take this fucking bunker? I mean, Jesus. Got any tips? Or when the guys that have fought Tyson, got any tips how, fight Mike? Because you want an easy way. You want the easy way. And you've given your children the easy way so far, for those of you that have kids. And God knows your parents, even though some of you got beated, as you say, they gave you the bubble wrap way. You've been bubble wrapped with your little trainer wheels on your little bicycle. Any questions before we get started from... Yes.
Does the thing goes on YouTube, everything? We have to edit the gypsy, blah, 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 blah.
No, we're not editing a fucking on anything.
No, but we don't put it on YouTube because there will be some people watching. And if you want to put some blogs with whatever, just to mock on people, that's not fair. I mean, we can keep the mocking in the room, please.
No, you're wrong. We can't keep it in the goddamn room.
We cannot put everything on the internet.
Hey, we can put anything I want to fucking put on the internet, so shut the fuck up.
Okay, I'll put anything on the internet.
Yeah, well, I don't give a fuck with you. And if I don't like what you put on the internet while you're here, I'll throw you out of the fucking castle. And if you think I'm kidding, try me.
I know, okay.
Fucking try me. And if you don't like it, get out now.
But, I mean, it's not...
I don't give a fuck. You understand me? Don't piss me off. You're in no position to piss me off.
Okay.
All those people, now, when they ask me what have I read them. To get fired up for today, I watched the 2.5-hour movie, 1963 movie, Zulu, which depicted 1779, I believe, Africa, the British Army, where they fought off 5,000 Zulus, 150 guys, and they did heroic stuff. That's what fires me up, because it's tough to keep your energy high and fired up, because I've done just about everything known to man. Not all good shit, but I mean, I've done just about everything known to man. But the reason I have these people is because I learned something from everybody. Hitler believed in practice, practice, practice. He had over 1 million photographs of him to do his promotional stuff when he was selling Mein Kampf, and when he was selling to become Chancellor of Germany in the 30s. He was the first guy being advised by Goebbels that, you know, if you're going to influence the masses. I studied when I was a poor speaker 30 plus years ago, I studied JFK, I studied Winston Churchill. I also studied Hitler, his mannerisms, but I couldn't understand what he said. And I studied to get to be a world-class speaker that I am today, or at least I'm told I am. I studied Harry Truman, who's up here, who was the president that took over from Franklin Delano Roosevelt when he died in office, and he was the guy that made the decision to drop the atomic bombs. Can you just imagine the heaviness of that decision? The heaviness that you're going to kill God knows how many people. I studied, in current day, I study Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis. These are all high-profile people. You may not like them, but they're high-performance people, every single one of them. And quite frankly, in my judgment, 85 to 95% of the people that write books aren't high performance. They're also Rands. Why do the kids read them? Because they say it's easy. And I mean, high performance is anything but easy. And staying on top is even harder than getting to the top. Now, I've been on the top of my game, arguably, for 3.5 decades. I haven't had to work in 35 years. People ask me, how do I get up in the morning? I get up fired up. I'm fired up. I've been high on life since 1974 that I thought about it, and actually since I got out of OCS 50 years ago today.
What really sets you off right now?
You mean irritates me?
Irritates you, pisses you off, yeah.
Man's greatest burden is unfulfilled potential. Man's greatest burden is unfulfilled potential. And I say, when I look at the audiences, and I know that maybe only 1% are going to achieve their potential. Not fully, I still haven't fulfilled my potential, but unfulfilled potential is man's greatest burden. And it breaks my heart, because I know what you kids are capable of. I know, I've had kids with 80 IQ to 180 IQ that I mentored that have done big deals. Actually, the 80 IQ did better than the 180 IQ, okay? And I know what they're capable of. And I know how 10 million or 100 million or whatever the number is changes lives. And and then all of a sudden, you know, you believe that you can walk on water. You believe that you can take a loaf of bread and feed however many he was supposed to have fed, and make water into wine. And when you believe it, see, the true test of a leader is when you've trained other people to be leaders. It's in you, kids. I mean, you can do it if you want it bad enough, and you stay focused and you're willing to maintain that commitment. And again, it's always legal, moral, and ethical. Normally, as you get older, one of the first things that goes out are your legs. It's natural fact. Prize fighters, their legs go out. So I train exceptionally hard on my legs. So I love working out every day. Fuck no, I don't. But I feel guilty when I don't. I feel like a cunt. I feel like a wuss. With no hard feelings, ladies, I feel like a woman. But I do it, because I know the stronger I am, the more mentally fit I am. So just fucking take action. People often ask me, did the end justify the means? And my answer is yes. High performance people don't hang out. High performance people don't go to group meetings. High performance people don't do any of those things. High performance people fly like eagles. They fly alone. I don't have any friends. I've got 4 or 5 guys I've known 40, 50 years. They came to my 70th birthday. We don't hang out. We don't go to the Super Bowl. We don't go to the World Cup. And we certainly don't go for fucking beers watching sports in sports bars. We don't have time. We don't have time. A lot of you say you have friends, you know. I told you what the definition of a friend. My dad's definition of a friend. Manny, I killed the old lady. That means my wife. My dad says, okay, I'll bring the shovel, you get the lye. Lye is, you know, what you put on to disintegrate body. Most of you don't have any friends. You gotta have acquaintances. You know, I've got less than that many friends. And I've had all of them for about between 40 and 55 years since I was a little kid. But your real friends will be happy for you. But most people will be jealous. When Ryan becomes even a more media mogul than he is, and he's really big, not everybody's gonna like it. That's just the way it is. That comes with the territory.
Do you think a lot of that is because people are products of their environment? And
Oh yeah, you're a product of your socioeconomic milieu. You're absolutely a product, and it's hard not to. You got no money, you got nothing to do, and you got all day to get in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, there's places in Ireland when, you know, I can't relate to the Northern Ireland stuff, but I mean, when you don't have any choices, when you don't have, and there's nothing else you can do. Unfortunately, kids do the wrong thing, and most kids do the wrong thing because of lack of leadership. And I believe that one of the reasons the world's fucked up now is because of the lack of parental leadership. In some cases, the lack of parents, because they're being raised by one parent, normally a mom. And the kids that come to me, you know, I'm not selling this to your audience. I'm the alpha male dad they never had but always wanted. The seminar is 80% different than it was 20 years ago. Now you guys would still be doing a spreadsheet, and I know the ones that be doing the longest spreadsheets, trying to figure out, well, what does quantum mean? What kind of meaning? And what is leap? Has that got a bad connotation? And what advantage do you have? I can just see all the fucking stupid questions that you'd ask yourself. You know why? Because you're fucking insecure. You lack self-esteem. You lack self-confidence. You got no huevos. That's why. And that's why these guys take your fucking money from you and fuck your wife for practice. I eat all you guys for breakfast before breakfast. That's the difference. Said there are stupid questions. Now, you were told to, you weren't asked to. You were told to read every fucking thing. We have put a list on the email. There were podcasts, etc. listed. I will bet both of my testicles that 95% of you in this room did not do that. Why do I make such a bold statement? Because I've been doing this a long fucking time. And you're the good ones. The morons are watching on YouTube. When I was going to visit my mentor, and I'm going to be your mentor for the next year, Mr. Grazos, the CEO of Onassis Group, etc. If he told me, he says, Mr. Pena, I would suggest that you read this so we can discuss it next time we get together. Guess what? I fucking read it. I don't feel like the Lone Ranger. All of the people that are come here basically are dipshits. But you're a higher class of dipshits than the ones watching on YouTube. Now that shouldn't make you feel good. So I'm not saying it to you to make you feel good. I'm just trying to put you in perspective. Why so few people are high performance. Because it's a hard motherfucker, that's why. And if it were easy, and I've been saying this maybe 5 or 8 years, it was so goddamn easy, and a couple of things we're going to look at first. There'd be a QLA shop on every corner like Starbucks. And the reason why you're so fucked up, read it.
Desperate to fit in.
You're all desperate to fit in. I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm black, I'm Asian, I'm this, I'm from the wrong part of Germany, I'm not from Bavaria. All kind of reasons. You're desperate to fit in. And you're desperate to fit in, YouTube, you fucking cunts, because you lack self-esteem, you lack self-confidence, and you got no fucking balls. And it's your parents' fault.